National Park is located near Balranald in the Murray Riverina district of New South Wales. A newly declared national park, it was once a huge farming station with almost 200 years of history. Yanga's position along 170 kilometres of Murrumbidgee river frontage make it a haven for bird life. The park also boasts the largest continuous tract of river red gum forest in the world. Adding to that, there's also several lakes, the largest of which is, unsurprisingly, Yanga Lake. I pulled into Yanga Lake's Regatta Beach in the late afternoon, with lots of red-rump parrots escorting us to the picnic area. The pretty lake glowed in the afternoon light, and after a nice sunset over the plains, I was already envisaging a sunrise shoot with calm water, reflections, and lots of colour. Morning. It's not what we were hoping for. It's a bit windy this morning and not hopeful of the best birding conditions, but it's still really beautiful. We're going to shoot a few long expos by the lake and see what the day brings. But not to worry, there's always birding, so after waiting for the light to pick up and enjoying a campground coffee, I set off around the lake in the direction of some whistling kites I could hear in the distance. It didn't take long to stumble upon a beautiful nest and 5 whistling kites, including some youngsters, who circled overhead and periodically perched up. It kept me busy trying to get a clean shot as they whistled through the trees, and I just enjoyed the moment, watching them swoop around. There's plenty of action along the lake's edge here. And the kites are really dominating. There's 5 kites. 5! And they're flying around everywhere. So I'm going to walk back up over into the plains area a bit more. I've seen plenty of flocks of eastern rosellas and red-rump parrots. And hopefully we might find something a little bit more exotic up there. But yeah, great birding here at Yanga Lake. Really like it. It's got a lovely vibe. I also had my first sighting of a mallee ringneck, and it was a funny moment. I spotted one looking into a hole in a tree. I was ready and waiting with the camera, hopeful that a juvenile's going to pop his head out. I'm not sure who got the biggest surprise when a starling jumped out instead, and the annoyed ringneck squawked and took off. Neither birds or I liked the wind, so it was time to move on and go and check out the homestead and the bird hide a few kilometres away. By now, it was pretty hot, dry and windy. Access to the homestead and bird hide is restricted until after 9 a.m, so not really conducive to getting any nice shots, unfortunately. I headed up to the hill and checked out the viewing platform near the homestead, but I couldn't seem to locate the bird hide. The conditions were no-go. There was no way I was going to get any great shots, so I thought, well, I may as well have a look through the homestead. Actually turned out to be really interesting, filled with memorabilia and interactive displays. Plus the gardens were really lovely. It was a bit sad seeing the place in its rundown state. It would have been a bustling and beautiful place in its heyday, with many workers relying on the station to put food on their table. It was also a social hub of the community, with tennis and boating parties and many a grand affair held on the grounds. Now reduced to rundown buildings and very few tourists limping around looking for birds, it was a bit of a solemn ending. On to the next destination, the Ben Scott Memorial Bird Trail, not far from the Balranald town centre. It looked like a good spot, but the timing and weather conditions just weren't on my side, with temperatures in the 30s. There were a few smaller birds and a fleeting first sighting of some blue bonnets, but not much happening otherwise. So it was time to head to camp at the Willows, 25 k's out of Balranald towards Hay. The Willows. Gazillions of flies and a dry, rocky campground with large ants marching through it, but all worth it for the flocks of bluebonnets that had a big presence. I made the most of the day's last light, following them around the plains. The next morning, sunrise put on a dramatic show, and although there wasn't much to feature for a landscape shot, it was nice to watch the light expand over the grasses, with flocks of bluebonnets coming and going. But within minutes, it clouded over, and the next thing, it was panic stations as the heavy shower descended and it was a mad dash to pack up. As the rain dried up, the flies reappeared, so it was time to move on to my final stop at Yanga, the old woolshed on the Murrumbidgee, 4 kilometres out of Balranald. Driving into the picnic area, I immediately noticed a lot of birds in the tall trees, the river frontage providing a hive of activity. I didn't have a lot of time to spend here, but I did manage to sight quite a few different birds and was happy to find a pale yellow rosella. It would have been good to stay at the Murrumbidgee campground, just a few kilometres or so upstream, but time just didn't permit on this trip. I would still sing the praises of Yanga as a good all-round birding destination, with lots of different areas to visit, each with some different species. I'm working on another little video about a recent trip to the Snowy Mountains, just passing through really, but I stopped off at Yanga and Paddy's Falls, and also stayed at 3 Mile Dam for a night, so look out for that one. I'm also busy packing for my trip to West Barley and Lombok, which is super exciting, and I'll catch up with you after that one. Talk to you soon.